One of my favorite movies is True Romance. And one of my favorite characters is Drexel from True Romance. And one of my favorite lines from Drexel is, "What do we got here? Motherfucking Charlie Bronson." Let's review 10 to Midnight. 10 to Midnight stars Charles Bronson, Lisa Eilbacher, and is directed by J. Lee Thompson. What is up, guys? It's time to review one of my favorite types of reviews to do, good old 80s slashers. And this is sort of a hybrid because it's like a crime drama slash slasher. And it happens to have Charles Bronson in it. And it's a Canon Films production, but it's 10 to Midnight. And I technically have seen this movie. I saw it like way back in like the mid 80s. And I just watched it recently again because I have HBO Max, and I noticed, I was just browsing through the movies and I noticed that 10 to Midnight was on there. And I was like, ooh, I haven't seen 10 to Midnight in what, over 30 years. Might as well check it out. Didn't remember any of it. So it was pretty much a brand new movie to me. Like, I didn't remember one iota of this movie, okay? It's just been that long since I've seen it. I just remember liking it back in the day. One thing that I learned about myself, I'm a massive 10 to Midnight fan. Like, this is one of the best slasher movies I've ever seen. And I am not sugarcoating you. That is just a true statement. And I think there's a few factors that make it so. So we're going to get into all that, okay? But first off, quick plot synopsis. 10 to Midnight is about Leo Kessler. He is a detective played by Charles Bronson. And this is like, you know, the 80s seedy, crime-ridden streets of LA. And I think 80s really captured that. 80s and 70s really captured LA and really New York as well, as far as like just being really crime-ridden and just a lot of nasty stuff going on. It's perfect for a serial killer setting. And the serial killer in this movie is Warren Stacy. And this is a very unique killer. And right away, after I saw this movie, I was like, this is one of the most unique freaking killers I have ever seen on film. He's completely psychotic, just completely deranged.
He's lying! He's lying! He's lying! No!
But he has a signature way that he kills his victims. He gets naked, so that way he doesn't have to worry about like burning any clothes or anything like that, you know. And he's just fearless, and so he'll just walk right into somebody's apartment, buck naked, and he will kill them violently. And that's one thing about 80s slashers that lends itself to this movie quite well, because it's very bloody and it just has a very graphic feel to it. You know, I would even say that like 10 to Midnight, it has like some giallo elements to it in nature. One thing about giallo movies is they don't hold back on the blood at all. You know, the buckets of blood. Very gratuitous too in terms of like women and nudity, and all of that is in here. But you also get a lot of male nudity in this movie. I'd say probably even more male nudity than female nudity because of Warren Stacy. But Kessler is onto him, and once he sees that Warren Stacy's sights are on his own daughter, Lori Kessler, played by Lisa Eilbacher, then all bets are off for Kessler. He doesn't even care about following the rules anymore.
Look at them, Warren! Look at them, Warren! Look at them! Stop!
Even planning evidence. And he'll go to any length just to take down this guy, and really just to kill him. Now, before I go any further, this will be a spoiler review, okay? Anytime I do like old classic type stuff, I talk spoilers, all right? It's just fun for me. So going into this review, if you haven't seen 10 to Midnight and you don't want to know spoilers, don't watch the review. But I will say I can't recommend this movie enough if you're a slasher fan, okay? It's that good to me. Now, first off, let's talk about Canon Films, all right? Canon Films, there's a documentary called Electric Boogaloo, and it's a Canon Films documentary. It's probably one of my favorite all-time documentaries ever. It covers the craziness that was Canon Films for over a decade. There's just a lot of great stuff in there, a lot of great behind-the-scenes stories, and it's a documentary that doesn't hold back either, okay? Take that for what you will. But Canon Films had two big moneymakers, Charles Bronson and Chuck Norris.
Everything we got would go in two piles for the two Chucks, Bronson and Norris. It could have been Wuthering Heights. Which one is for Chuck and which one is for the other Chuck?
And Charles Bronson, he did the Death Wish movies. I believe Death Wish 3 was the only one that was through Canon Films, and they say that one's like atrocious. But he also did 10 to Midnight. And some say 10 to Midnight's like their favorite Charles Bronson movie. I can see why. Charles Bronson just has like a Clint Eastwood air about him. He's older too. I even read that he got like plastic surgery in this movie to look younger. Didn't really work because he still looks old. But that doesn't get in the way of the film. He's still Charles Bronson. He's still great. And I just loved him in this movie. He's just a man's man. You know, this is back in the 80s when you had stars like Clint Eastwood. These guys, they just don't take any shit whatsoever. And one unique aspect of this movie is the prey is being stalked. Yeah, the prey is stalking these females, but the prey is also being stalked by Charles Bronson, Kessler. And I love that Kessler is not afraid of Stacy at all.
Ever see one of these before? What's it used for? What's the matter? Cat got your tongue? It's for jacking off, isn't it?
The only thing that does concern him is the safety of his daughter, but you know, he taunts Stacy throughout the movie. And that's not something you usually see in like slasher movies or really even like, I guess, crime dramas. So it just adds a unique flavor to it. But like I said earlier, once his daughter is in trouble, like he goes as far as putting his job on the line, you know, getting fired pretty much by planting evidence because he's so sure, he knows that Warren is the killer. And it's a little bit of a tug of war there too because Warren gets more and more psychotic as he sees that Kessler is constantly coming after him. And so that just speeds up the process of him trying to go out of his way to get to his daughter. Now let's talk about, I guess, the females in this movie, okay? Lisa Eilbacher, the only thing I remember her from was Beverly Hills Cop. But man, she was just a natural in terms of like creating a character that's just very witty and funny. And she's actually hilarious in this movie just because of her relationship with her father, Kessler. You know, she is definitely her father's daughter. And she's just tough. She has a really tough exterior, very sarcastic. I tend to enjoy these types of characters more than any other character, you know? They just don't take any shit, and that's just the way she is in this.
What is your problem? Your father's a cop. You've got to make allowances for that.
What the hell do you think I've been doing for 20 years?
But her roommates, one of them is Kelly Preston. This is a very young Kelly Preston who doesn't really have much to work with in this role, you know? This is probably before she ended up doing Mischief and Christine, and the rest is history. But jumping back on Laurie Kessler, I think she might be one of the most likable final girls, because she is pretty much a final girl in this movie that I've seen in a long time. You know, like she would definitely make some of my top 10 lists. I was just constantly rooting for this character. I couldn't help but like her. And I love when writers, they put a lot into the characters to really make them just leap right off the page. And you know, say what you want about Canon Films and crap movies, and boy do they have a lot of crap movies. But every now and then they would churn out, you know, a gem, something that was really good. And I don't know if it was an accident, I don't know what it was, but it worked with 10 to Midnight. And I just like Canon Films anyway, you know. I like cheesy 80s movies. Schizoid, X-Ray, they're bad slasher movies, but I'd still throw them in, you know, any day of the week. They're just fun to watch. They're Canon Films. Now, Gene Davis, who played Warren Stacy, again, this is a character that I could not get enough of. He was very interesting. Sort of took some influence from like Ted Bundy because Gene Davis is a good-looking guy. He's very much in shape, takes care of himself. But psychologically, you enjoy exploring this type of character because women hate him. He's just repulsive to them. He sees them as objects, and he goes as far as wanting to kill them when they turn him down. You know, he just has no communication skills whatsoever. He is pretty much a psychopath. You know, he's like the living definition of a psychopath. He does some crazy stuff in this movie. Behind the scenes, he got so much into character. You know, he tried to stay away from the rest of the cast just to pull off a very memorable and great performance. I'm not saying that Gene Davis is the greatest actor. You know, there's definitely some scenes in here where you can tell that he's pretty green in terms of acting. But I will say I'd rather an actor really go for it and go across the line than just play it safe and not do anything memorable at all, because if anything, he is definitely memorable. Like, wow, there were quite a few scenes in this movie where I was just like floored. Like, Jesus, this guy's insane. He's also a pretty resourceful killer too, because he plans out his kill. In the beginning of the movie, he goes to the movie theater and, you know, there's these two girls there so they can witness that he was there. And by the way, one of those girls was Sarah Connor's co-worker in the first Terminator. You're dead, honey. So I noticed her right away. But while he's in the theater, he ends up like escaping out the window, going and committing one of the murders with this couple that are having sex. He ends up chasing her through the woods, buck naked. Both of them, buck naked. And he kills her. And then after, you know, because he's naked, he comes back, puts his clothes back on, gets back in the theater. So later in the movie, he has an alibi. I was in the theater. I wasn't there when this lady got killed. You know, that's what he uses. So he's pretty smart, actually. But when Kessler comes and questions him later, he's on to him. He knows exactly what he's doing. Now, Andrew Stevens plays McCann. I used to watch a lot of movies with Andrew Stevens back in the day, too. You know, he's another one of those. He did a lot of those, like, B-level, not just horror movies, just movies in general. He'd do, like, some, like, erotic movies and stuff. Ones with, like, I think he did one with Heather Thomas. It's like an erotic vampire movie. But he's like the new detective, you know, and he's under Kessler's wing. And so he's always wanting to do things by the book. He's actually very good at his job. But eventually he's confronted with having to deal with Kessler and you know, should I cover up for him or should I, you know, turn him in? You know, it's just a testament to how good of a guy Kessler is, because he's like, I'll take the pressure off of you. Go ahead and turn me in, okay? I put you in this position. What I did was wrong by planting the evidence. But I don't care because I want to save my daughter. Now, the ending of this movie, the final act, awesome. You have this scene where Stacy, he's just had it with Kessler. He's pissed off at Kessler. He goes straight, like a beeline, straight to Kessler's daughter's place. He wants to kill her like really bad. And so, I mean, it's just a bloodbath. Like, he kills both of the roommates. As a matter of fact, like behind the scenes, he actually like dislocated one of the girl's arms because he was just so into the part. But that scene, it reminds me of like Terminator, you know? Like Gene Davis would actually be a good Terminator. You know, he just has that walk. And if you remember like the first Terminator, it feels more like a slasher movie, you know? I mean, Arnold, he's freaking bloody as hell. He's killing people, punching holes through their chest. That's kind of the way Gene Davis is in this movie. But then there's this great chase after, you know, he's chasing her down the street, again, buck naked, and he's confronted with Kessler. And Kessler, you know, he has a decision to make. Stacy's telling him, go ahead, take me in. Because, you know what, I'm going to plead insanity. I'm insane. And they won't even question because I am insane.
Take me in. You can't punish me. I'm sick. You can't punish me for being sick.
And so Kessler freaking blows his head off. Shoots him right in the head. Which is probably what Clint Eastwood would do too.
Here for me. You and the whole fucking world.
No, we won't.
Guys, I love the hell out of this movie. I'm going to give it a high purchase worthy because I'm going to be fair about it. It does have some Canon Films acting in it. There are some weak spots in the acting, but that doesn't get in the way of the movie at all. As a matter of fact, it's kind of like seasoning for the movie. It's just Canon Films, and if you like Canon Films, then that just makes it even better. Make no mistake, this is a good movie. It's not a comedy at all. It's gripping, actually. And there's just a lot of great movie fat to chew on, I guess. So definitely check out 10 to Midnight. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts on 10 to Midnight in the comments below. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks. Thanks for watching, guys. Drumdum out.